welcome back to another episode of the Women in Money Cafe. Oh, good news today, people. Right, unfortunately, it is just me, but the good thing is I'm not alone. I've got a guest. So all the rest of the cafe hosts have gone off doing things summer holiday type. But we've managed to get back on the show Nicola Peake. Now, if you remember last year, I think it was episode 79, Nicola came and joined us to talk about networking, because apparently we all hate it. And after that, is one of the most downloaded episodes ever, by the way. And if you've not heard it, go back and listen to it. So delighted we managed to get Nicola to come back on today to answer more of our networking questions. So Nicola, welcome back to the cafe.
Hello, and thank you for having me back.
Well, it's an absolute
I
pleasure.
can't believe it was one of the most downloaded.
Even with an explicit warning.
Maybe it's because of the explicit warning.
Oh yeah, listeners, explicit warning coming up. If you're listening to this in the car with young children, you might want to pause it until you've dropped them off at school. Yeah, you've been warned.
I can be on good behaviour.
No, we've warned them.
It's
okay.
the company, you see. I'm usually really good. It's the company.
Saying I lead you astray. Right, so you're surprised that your episode's one of the most downloaded episodes?
Yeah.
Right, I'm not surprised by that, actually, because I think it's one of those things that networking, everybody kind of gets that it's a good thing to do, because if I do that, my business will grow, or I will get promoted in the company, or I will develop and progress my career. So everybody gets that it's kind of something that we should be doing, but then you're like, but I don't want to do it. I don't like it. So the fact that you were giving us the answers, I think that
The answers to what I do, yeah. I mean, like I said then, I don't actually like networking. I've always hated it for probably the same reasons as everybody else that says I hate networking. It's because it can be really quite wanky. And sorry, I've done it already.
That's nowhere near as bad as what you did the first time round.
It's, you think back to networking, and I'm from financial services as well. And it would be just, men in their pinstripe suits, all just trying to show off which one's got the biggest car keys and flashiest and the shiniest shoes. And it would just be, it wouldn't be fun, would it? They'd just come up and like either throw the business card or say, we need to meet, or what can, how they're just all sales. It just wasn't nice. It would just be like,
it feels scuzzy, doesn't it?
Yeah. And this might sound really judgmental, but it's not. Probably is, I don't know. But you'd also go and you'd want to go to build connections to grow your business. And you want to go and meet like-minded people who are genuine, who also want to grow their business. So that's why we network. We want to make money. We want to get referrals. We want relationships so we can grow our businesses. And then if somebody's just selling you aloe vera jelly or like a fitness drink.
Always utility warehouse.
I'm trying not to name anything.
But
it's like, and don't get me wrong, there are so many people who are fantastic and earn a lot of money in these businesses. But to be honest, when there's some networking events you go to and it's like, that's not why I'm here. Like I'm going because I want clients. I want to meet people who have got money, because that's what I was doing then as a financial advisor. I want to meet people who I can work with, do business with, and there's a give and take. And I think there was just a lot of networking that wasn't right. Wrong people were in the wrong rooms. So now, like my events, absolutely, like anybody can come to them if they're on the same kind of driven platforms that I want to connect. I won't have somebody walk in and just start handing business cards to everyone and start selling themselves. I hate it. So that doesn't happen. But I think I still don't like networking. It's that fear of walking into a room, not knowing who's going to be there, who's going to lecture on you or be trying to speak to you, and also you think, God, what the hell am I going to talk to these people about? Like a lot of people are worried about the small talk, and it's like, how am I going to know what to say? Like,
I'm glad you've brought this up, because any regular listeners know that we do our most meaningful research on Instagram because we think it's more reliable or entertaining than Google. So in preparation for this episode, I went to Instagram and I asked all the people on Instagram about What's the deal with networking? What is it about it you don't like? Or are you a networking pro? And nobody came back professing to be a networking pro. The bulk of people came back and said the challenge with networking is people. But I think it's slightly more nuanced than that. And some of them did expand on it as like, they feel awkward and they don't know what to say. And then someone else was saying to me about, the hard sales type people. I even had another one come back and say, what did we call it? The hardcore manifestors. They don't like them either. So that's like at the opposite end of the scale. But what I really want is your take on how we handled this, because we had a recent episode where we were talking about bias in financial services, and we had
Yeah.
Visha Soni on, and she was sharing a really interesting experience about how she used to dread networking. Because Bavisha, she's from India, so she didn't grow up here. And she said, I would go to these networking events and you've got the small talk about where they talk about the football or they talk about, that episode of Only Fools and Horses that was on 20 years ago. Because I don't have the shared background that everybody has. So I can't do the small talk. So she was excluded.
Yeah.
And I really relate to that because I can't do small talk. I can do the big, powerful, controversial as fuck topic, but I can't do small talk. I don't know how to.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what a lot of us worry about. And I'll be honest, that's what I don't like. And it is, you've got to go with an intent. So why are you going networking?
Right.
There needs to be an intent as to why you're going. If you're just going because everyone's going to that event, or it's a local networking event that's on that somebody's putting on, and it's like, oh, I'll go to that. And you don't really know why you go in, but you think, well, I know I need to network. I know I need to meet people. I know I need to grow my business. Chances are you're walking into the wrong room. And like you just mentioned, bias in financial services, there's bias in networking. I've just done it then saying, when I was a financial advisor, I didn't want to go networking with people that were selling fitness drinks and aloe vera jelly because it wasn't for me. Doesn't mean as like now I love those people. I've got loads of people in network marketing in my world because now we're in the rooms together. I'm in the right rooms and so are they. And it's the small talk. Yes, we can build rapport. Yes, we can try and build relationships. And yes, we want to have conversations and get to know people. And sometimes the small talk's a bit awkward. It's like, oh, how's the weather? Now, Judy, you weren't at my expo event recently, but we had somebody who did a talk and it was called Don't Network Like a Knobhead.
Oh, tell me more. Tell me more.
You would have absolutely loved it because actually what they were saying, quite rightly so, Joel did this talk, that, when you go networking, you haven't got a lot of time. So actually we haven't got time for small talk. So if you're going to a networking event, it's 2 hours, and in that 2 hours, there might be a training. You might have to sit down. You might have to do one of those horrible 60-second pitches, but you haven't got long to speak to people. So rather than having the crappy small talk and talking about the weather and your kids and stuff like that, because you're wasting time, he went along the premise of have some real fucking strong questions to ask.
Yeah,
so you would have loved that.
Yeah.
And it was like, you are there, ask something like, what's the biggest win you've had in your business this month? What are you working on in your business? Ask things about the business. So you don't have to do the small talk. Like you can cut the small, if you don't like small talk and you want to go network and you want to get to know somebody and we're all there to talk about our business, talk about the business straight away. Go in. There's nothing wrong with going in with those strong questions. Now, what did happen, the reason I laughed is because actually a few people were quite upset by his comment because some people feel that, especially females, were saying, I like the small talk. I want to get to know somebody. What Nicola does is building relationships. Yes, that's exactly why I do what I do. But my events aren't 2 hours. My events aren't a 60-second pitch. My events aren't that. My events are you've got 5 or 6 hours. You've got time to have a little bit of small talk, get to know someone, then actually have a bit more of a personal conversation, have a bit of fun, have some food, have drinks if it's an evening. It's more relaxed. Whereas when you're walking into a networking event that's not so relaxed and not so chilled and there's a bit more structured and formal, they're the ones that we all dread because it's like, people are looking at me. I've got to speak in front of people. People are watching. I've got to be a bit visible. So I think if you don't want to do small talk and you don't like it, don't do it. Just go in with, like you said to me earlier about podcasting, have a bank of a few questions. Have that when you go networking as well. So, like, I actually, on the event, I spoke about you because Joel was then being challenged by females saying, oh, but that's because you're masculine. You can get away with saying that. As a woman, we would never do that. And I actually said, well, actually, me and you went to an event and you walked it to his business partner, remember? We first walked in the room.
Shit, what did I do?
No, you just walked up to him. You just asked him some random, big, strong, powerful question. And I was like, whoa. And you like, no, it's you. Where did that come from? You were like, I just love asking questions. I love getting to know people. But I'm like, almost like you've not got time to waste. You just want to ask the question. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. I think that cuts out the awkwardness of those horrible small talks that no one's really interested in what the
Oh,
other.
I love your bag.
mean-
Where'd you get your bag from?
Yeah, because ultimately what will happen is if you ask a powerful question or you just ask something about your business and not like, what do you do? Like, something like, what's the most challenging thing you're going through at the moment in business? Somebody's going to go, oh, well, actually, and you're going to have a conversation. The rapport will come later. So the rapport will come and you go, actually, I really like that person. We're on a level. We're talking about our business. Afterwards, the rapport is going to come at some point. You're not never going to talk about the weather. You're not never going to talk about your kids and your family. Like, it's going to come. It just doesn't have to be there straight away.
Right, so basically, we're not having the foreplay at the start.
Yeah, foreplay later.
I'm going to give that one some consideration. But in the meantime, I think I might have a networking tip.
Then
Tell me what you think about this, right? So one of the things, like, especially because what I do sounds a bit dull and a bit boring, and you dread people asking, "What do you do?" It's like, oh god, I'm gonna have to say the financial advisor. And like what you were saying, instead of asking someone what do you do, ask them how do you help people.
yeah,
It's like, so I know there was somebody I was coaching who had a bit of a fear about networking, and they're like, well, how do I explain what I do? I've got nothing to say. I'm like, right, you'll have a client that really stands out in your mind. And you're like, it's a really good story. It's a really powerful story. Share the story.
yeah.
So,
People
like,
enjoy
loads of
this as
people have
well.
heard me talk about Suzanne, one of my old clients. People want to know what I do. Well, this Suzanne, I'll tell them a story about Suzanne. So that's what I do. That's the kind of
Yeah,
thing I do. Is
yeah.
that a good networking tip?
Yeah, and actually, it almost makes it easier for you to sell what you do as well, because I really struggled last year when people would say to me, oh, what do you do, Nick? Or what's your business? What's Peaks? What's Peaks Private Members Club? And because I hated the word networking so much, so when did we do the last episode?
It went out, I think, last October. So we maybe
So
recorded in
in
September.
October, I wouldn't use the word networking in my marketing. I wouldn't use it in my
It was
group
connection.
pages. It was all connection. I refuse to use the word networking because I hate it so much, because it just reminds me of the awkward, horrible networking I used to have to do. And it's only since about February, March that I've owned the fact I run a networking business. It's exactly what I do, but I didn't want to admit it. So last year I'd be going, oh, well, I've got this membership and I've got all these members and we do some nice events and no doubt they're probably thinking, she's boring the hell out of me. Bye. I'm going. Whereas now I'm very much like, people say, what do you do? And I go, oh, I run a networking business, but I absolutely love it. I just get business owners to connect, make money and have fun. Like, I can just reel that off because it's easier, but without going, oh, I am a networker, or because I'm not. Like, I run a networking business, but I'm not a networker. I'm not an expert networker. I just love being around people. So like you said, a lot of people said they don't like networking because of people. I completely get that, but I think it's because it's the wrong people. It's maybe because you're thinking of the networking that you've done in the past where it is sleazy and full of, I don't know, accountants, junior accountants. You got soggy bacon rolls and having to do picture shame that nobody wants to do,
Picture
rather than just having people where you can just, talk about your business, be open, and then like build the relationships. I don't think there was ever relationships built in the old traditional networking. Very few. Some
No.
people now, very few.
Let's do a quick recap then of your tips so far. So the first one you gave us was be intentional.
Yeah.
So before you go to an event, be it online or in person, stop and ask yourself, why am I going? Why am I doing this? What's the purpose? What's the outcome I want from it?
Yeah.
So I like that. I'd never thought about it like that before, but start with the end in mind. I love that. And the other thing you were saying is, okay, if we don't want to do the small talk, either because we can't or we just don't want to, you were saying like, just have a couple of questions ready then.
Yeah.
That are your backups that you can go to.
Yeah.
All right. So
I mean, if you walked into a room, Julie, you went networking and somebody come up to you, what would you prefer? Would you prefer them to go, oh, I like your bag? Or would you prefer them to ask you a nice, to the point question?
yeah, well, if you're listening, you didn't see me put my head in my hands when Nicola said, "Oh, I like your bag." Like, don't get me wrong, I've got lots of really, really nice bags, but where's the conversation going?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I got it when I was on holiday. Blah blah. It's not going anywhere, is it? So no, I would rather. Okay, let's pretend we're networking, then, Nicola. Right?
God, okay. Are you going to ask me? You're better at the questions, though. I think
No, you make the first approach. I'm going to make the first approach. Right, we'll take turns, right? I'll go first. So our eyes have met across the room. Neither of us look like a dodgy salesperson.
Oh my God, there's a female financial advisor.
So I'm going to say a lot to you. I've clocked your bag. It is a nice bag, but I'm not going to mention it. I'm going to start off with, hello.
Oh, hi, nice to meet you.
I can't think of a question now. What should I ask you? Oh, I'll stick with the one I know. Nicola, how do you help people then?
How the fuck did you know my name?
It's a badge. You got a badge on.
Oh, I've totally lost what you asked me now. What did you say?
Is it so, Nicola? How do you and your business help people?
So I basically help people to connect, to build relationships. But I believe that as business owners, we can have some fun as well. So it's about treating ourselves. And look, I'm answering it really shit now.
That's because we're role playing and everybody hates role playing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just help connect business owners so they can ultimately build relationships, get referrals, collaborate, and make more money, but have fun at the same time.
Okay. Okay.
What about you, Julie?
What do I do?
How do you help people?
I do magical things with money.
Hey, what's the biggest challenge you have with that?
Biggest challenge is time. It's always time, isn't it? Do you find that?
Yeah, but I also can find it can be an excuse.
Oh, we're not moving into a coaching session here when you kick my butt because I haven't done X, Y, and Z. Whoa. Right. So I think, so will we basically giving people permission to just skip the small talk?
Yeah.
All right.
If you don't want to do small talk and you don't like small talk, don't do it. Because if you walk up to somebody who also doesn't like small talk and you start a conversation like that, how do you help people? What's the biggest challenge you've got in business? What's the best thing you love about your business? What do you love doing?
Or what's going really well for you just now?
Yeah. Who's your favorite client? Why? Like, just talk about.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm having that.
About the clients and stuff.
So, Nicola, who's your favorite client?
Oh, I'm not the same.
Well, I think
I have a favorite client. I love
them all equally.
I love them all equally.
All right. So we've kind of tackled off like the people's objection to networking is the people, and hopefully we've given them some hints and tips there on how to start conversations. One of the other things that I wanted you to talk to us about is you've used the phrase that quite a few times now that they're finding themselves in the wrong room. And I found myself in the wrong room once. I wasn't sure how bad it was. I went back a second time. And yeah, it was definitely the wrong room. And I never went networking again ever after that. So I'm wondering if you could share with us any thoughts or tips you've got on how do you find the place that's right for you to go networking? So if you're a 7 a.m. BNI type person, then fab, you know where they are. Well, if you're not that kind, how do you find the other kinds of events?
There's lots of different ways you can find events. So you can just go online and Google networking events in your local area and things will come up. But generally, things that will come up will be your BNIs, your very structured things, Chamber of Commerce, maybe regulatory bodies that run events. They're the kind of things that you'll find online. So those kind of things are useful to go to, maybe if you want to learn something or they've got a good speaker, rather than maybe thinking I'm going there to build some really good relationships to collaborate. They could just be for a purpose. You've got a purpose why you're going to them. If you are looking for events where there's like-minded people that, maybe run business similar to yours, or you've got similar ideal clients, so there could be a cross of collaboration there, then especially if you're online, a lot of people are online now, find the communities first, find the groups, the people, the pages, the people that you like. More and more people now are doing events. Even if they're not networking, there's a lot of people doing business style events that you can go to and you will build new relationships with people. You're just going to connect with people and just find the right room. So if you see somebody and you're like, actually, I like what they do, and if they're putting on an event, probably the people in the room are going to be similar to you because you're all kind of following the same path and the same person. And just find the groups and just look and see what people are doing. You're not going to know until you go first time if it's for you. Unfortunately, you're not. But, find where you're going to feel comfortable, especially if you're looking for more diverse groups. So look at what people are doing. If you're looking for female only groups, there's loads out there now. So if you don't want to be networking with men, then look for female only groups. There's groups there that are for mums in business. So if you've got children and you want to go networking, but you can't physically get the time to do it, there's groups out there now where you can take your kids with you. So you don't have to do the BNIs and the structured things. You can go, you can take your kids, you can have some lunch, and it's more relaxing. You have conversations. So it's just about finding what's right for you and the right people, because it's not people in a sense that they're not the right people. It's like the businesses. So like I mentioned, as a financial advisor, there wasn't really much benefit for me to be in a room with people that were kind of into multi-level marketing at that point. But now I love being in rooms with those people because like their businesses are so varied. There's so many different people doing it. Some of them are so successful. They love community. They love cheerleading people. And now it fits with what I do. And as a financial advisor selling pensions and stuff, like I probably didn't have much to give to them either. So it was kind of just that the rooms weren't right. Whereas now it's finding the spaces where people have got respect for each other's businesses, people can help each other, can refer, can collaborate, and can kind of help each other grow. And it's finding what you're comfortable with. So you might go to one and love it, but never look for another one again and just keep going to the same persons. Or you might do lots of different ones. And if you're nervous, have a look for the events where they have a list of who's going. So some places will actually give a list of people that have booked. So you can kind of do a little stalk on Facebook and stuff of who's going.
I think Eventbrite might do that as well,
Yeah, I think they sometimes do that. Yeah.
All right.
So you go and go, oh, actually, and you can have a little stalk and see what their businesses are. Because then if you looked and there were like all just people in an industry that just doesn't interest you at all, and there's no way you're going to collaborate, you're probably going to go, actually, I'm not going to go to that.
All right. No, I never thought to do that. That's really good. So the things you've said to us so far is about making sure that you're in the right room, setting out with intention. You can do some research online to suss it out. And then it's something you were saying about then once you're in the room, it's looking at the businesses and asking yourself, are they a fit for where I am?
Yeah.
Rather than seeing it as people, it's just like, is this the right place for me? And you can suss that out pretty quickly, can't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And if they're not, just don't go back, move on next.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be a bit selfish with this, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about yourself when you're going networking, because one, it's an expense, it's an investment you're making. It's also your time that you're taking. So if you're going and spending time getting there, a few hours there, time getting back, and there's absolutely nobody in that room that one, you can help or they can help you. Yes, you might get on with them. Is it a social or is it a business? So you've got to look at it from that. And if you want to network for business and you want to grow your business and you want to collaborate, you want to meet people that you can support and can support you, just make sure you are in those rooms with the right business owners and the right businesses. Definitely.
All right. And I think the other thing that you said that I'm just going to clarify. So when you go in and you type in networking into Google, it's then getting more specific, right? Your search parameters. So networking for moms with children.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
want that kind of thing. So like the opposite experience to the BNI. Right. I would never have thought to do that and then do a little sort of research on who else is attending. Because I guess could that tie in with the intention then? If you're looking at the businesses and the people that are attending, there's someone there that you're like, oh my God, I would love to connect with them.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're going in with that intention.
Yeah. And that's a bit like kind of stuff when I've discussed before about even just online is who's on your hit list. So who is it you really want to connect with? And if they're going to certain events, then you want to be at those events. You want to be in rooms with that person. You want to get to know that person because online is a massive space. But if you can get in a room with 20 to 50 people and there's people there that you can connect with and meet and build relationships, that's how you're going to get clients. So definitely do that. Look at where they're going as well.
All right. Anything else that you would share with us?
Oh, about what? Networking or just anything?
Anything, really. Anything you think that's going to either educate, inform, or entertain the listeners. I'm going to regret that last one, aren't I?
Oh, my mind's gone blank now. What can I do?
Or any last words of wisdom?
I would say last words of wisdom is just try things. Like you don't know until you try. So if you are really worried about networking, then find people that do anti-networking like myself. I kind of look at what I do as anti-networking.
It is anti-networking, yeah. It is. It is like the antithesis of what people think networking is going to be.
Yeah. And there'll be other people doing that. And if you are if you do, I think from there'll be people out there that are really confident with networking, that love it and literally are social butterflies and be everywhere and they know everyone, they speak to everyone, are super confident. I hate those people because I'm like, I want to be like that. Like, it's just like, I watch people, I'm like, wow, in awe of them. But if you are somebody like that, have a look around you and kind of take people under your wing who maybe aren't so confident.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than walking into a room, feeling nervous, worried about small talk, not knowing anybody, and you're kind of alone and you've got to approach other people. It's pretty daunting. And there will be people in that room that are confident, that know everybody, that are flitting about. So I think if you're on that side of things, make a conscious effort to look around you, look at who might be looking a bit nervous, who might be looking like, oh, I don't really want to do, because you can spot people. I can spot people. And, when people are on their own and lingering on their own, like go over, get them, include them. Because I think networking's a bit like, when you're back at school and you're not the cool one,
Yeah.
it have that same feeling, can't it? You walk in a room and everyone knows each other and all their little cliques, and you're just like, who would want to speak to me? And if you go to any networking events and it is clicky, never fucking go back. Just find somewhere else.
I love it. So uncompromising. Yes.
There's nothing worse than proper cliques, is there really? Nothing worse than that.
No, I think that's really great advice. I love that idea of if you're someone that's not petrified, you don't even have to be the social butterfly status. I think if you're someone that's not petrified, then take that person that's petrified under your wing.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's the bit that I love. The reason I do my business is because I love to connect people. So like for me, that's why I do what I do, because I don't want anyone to feel that they're not included or they're not part of the community or part of the event or part of anything. So I do make a conscious effort at my own events if I do see people and I think, oh, why are they on their own? Like I don't want to stalk them and stuff. I'm like, you okay? And if I feel that they're uncomfortable, I'm like, right, come on, let's take you. I'll meet you, introduce you to this person, or we'll come and sit over here. And There's so many of us that could do more of that just to put other people at ease. It's just looking and being mindful of others as well.
Oh, I think that's a really nice place to sort of wind things up. I think that's a nice message to take away. I think even if you are someone that's terrified, there's probably someone in the room that's even more scared than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, when you feel that you've got someone else to look after, you get a little bit braver, don't you?
Yeah. And it's so much easier. That's why I'm far more confident at my own events than I am at anyone else's.
I've not seen you at anyone else's. One day I want to see what this is like.
Because at my own events, it's like I'm here to look after everyone. That's my role. Whereas at other events, I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to sit at the back of the room and stay quiet.
I'm going to have my bacon roll and then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
All right. Look, thank you very much for that. So anybody that's listening that's thinking, okay, it sounds like there is another way of doing networking. There's Nicola's anti-networking. What's the best way for them to connect with you and find out more about what you do?
So I'm on Facebook a lot. So if you just go to my personal profile, you'll find me on there. Just add me as a friend, connect with me. And then through that, you'll find links to like on my Instagram, LinkedIn, links to other things, links to my events, community and stuff like that. But yeah, just pop me a friend's request. We can be friends.
All right. Well, we'll put a link to Nicola's profile on Facebook
Brilliant.
in the show notes, and feel free to reach out to her because, as you can tell, she's going to welcome you,
Yes.
aren't you? All right. Okay, Nicola, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed and got something out of this. My challenge for you is you've been given lots of hints and tips in this episode. I want you to go and pick one that you go into action within the next week. All right. Even if you're just practicing in the office or just out at the pub, go and practice one of these little techniques and let us know how you get on with it. But until next time, take care of yourself.